Good evening and welcome to Encore with Zoe Ryan, bringing you the latest of what's happening in the arts, culture and entertainment across Laois, Offaly and Westmeath. On tonight's show, taking up a craft in Tullamore, working with glass in Portlaoise, writing original music in Abbey Leaks and navigating a dance competition in Mullingar, as well as an announcement. Later on, I'll be talking to stained glass artist Aoibhinn Keogh about her new taster workshop coming to Dunamaze Arts Centre this weekend. Up-and-coming singer-songwriter June reveals the inspirations behind her distinctive sound, and Amy McManus of Elevate Academy of Dance discusses her recent achievements. But first, have you been thinking about taking up a craft but don't know where to start, or you just don't have the motivation to look into it? Well, this is your sign. In light of August being Craft Month, I've invited representatives from the Tullamore Women's and Men's Sheds into the studio this evening to give us a rundown of what crafts and other social activities they have on offer. Olive Davis and Tom Finnerty, you're both very welcome.
Thank you.
Olive, I'll come to you first. In your experience, what is the main reason why women come along and join the group?
I think isolation. You know, when women get older and they're, you're not meeting kids at the gate and other parents and stuff like that. I think just friendship and women looking to learn a new skill. And that's why they come to the shed.
And Tom, would you find that that's the same for the men's shed, coming for similar reasons?
More so with men, because older men especially have to lose their partners.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do with themselves. Some of them barely able to cook, and stuff like that. So they depend big time on that social outing, if you want to call it, for them. A lot of them, yeah. Absolutely.
And it's not just about the crafts, it's equally about the social aspect, as you've said, Tom, that sense of community, the prospect of making connections. But if we consider the crafts, which ones do you typically offer? Tom, what about the men's shed?
Well, we've always done woodworking and we've done craft on the side as well. Some pyrography, I don't know if you ever heard of pyrography. I have to be very careful saying that word now, pyrography. Excuse the fun, but it's the art of wood burning.
Right.
We do that as well.
I did not know that now.
So what is a piece of timber you get, and you draw a design on it or put a design on the copy, and you come on in with a special tool for burning wood, and it heats, and you burn the outline, you colour it in and everything. It's fabulous. It's fantastic. But one of the beauties of pyrography is really like fishing. When you get down into it, everything goes.
I was going to say, it seems like a really slow process.
Very slow.
Yeah.
There's nothing in your head. You see, a lot of men coming in would be maybe not long after retiring.
Yeah.
And retiring is not easy on men that has been working. Now, and I know that myself because I'm sort of semi-retired myself this month.
Yeah. You'd be at a loss.
Well, you finish on a Friday evening and you're working all your life, and you wake up Monday morning and your routine is to get up, cup of coffee, shower, get to work.
Back into it, yeah.
You don't have that all of a sudden and you're not prepared for it. But that's where the men, I think, in the ladies' shed, the women's shed, comes into it big time. They can come in, they can learn new skills. We've had lads who could do nothing in the line of woodworking around. They're making planters, they're making bird boxes. This is the I suppose, the craft side of the whimsical bird boxes, bit of slate work, and again the pyrography as well. There's different things. They do, maybe they might do up furniture, which in itself is a good craft to be able to do.
Yeah.
So there's loads of stuff.
Of course.
But I'd like to see more men getting involved. I know that out in Rahan, for example, they started a men's shed there, and fair play to them. I know that Frank out there, he's beginning to do stained glass with them.
Yes.
And that's a fabulous thing to do, and it's something we might look at. But yeah, the shed is there and lads will come in, and we're open 5 days a week.
Right, okay.
We don't open for a few hours once. We open the 5 days from around 10 to 3:30. And the boys want that because they have nowhere else or nothing else, and they'll tell you that if they were here,
As you say, it's a social outlet.
It's their social outlet, yeah.
And Olive, what about you for the kind of common crafts or popular crafts that you would engage in? What would they be?
Well, We have just done a 6 weeks art course with, my God.
I had seen this. It was with Claire Guinan.
Claire
Yes.
Boy, literally, her name just came out of my head there. I couldn't think of it. Claire's been fantastic. And we have an exhibition Saturday week in Escra Arts.
Great.
It's the opening of that. So we've had great fun doing that. And also learning, I lived in Doro, and yet I didn't know anything about the Book of Doro. Whereas we all have learned so much from it. And we also do knitting, crochet, sewing. We have sewing machines down there. We have pyrography sets as well. And we do an awful lot down there. And we mainly, from September on, we open up on a Thursday evening as well. For those who can't make Friday mornings, and we will do art and crafts every Thursday evening until Christmas, and then we sell our wares just to raise some funds.
Lovely.
In the Bridge Centre. So the girls, but there's so many skills down there. The ladies, it's unbelievable. Every one of them has something that you can learn from, and they come in really quiet, and the next thing they know, they're gifted at something, and for them to pass on that skill as well to everybody, it's just wonderful.
And if we look at the materials that are needed to engage in these crafts, are they generally provided? Because that sometimes can be a barrier for people to, I suppose, taking up a new craft, is that they're going, I don't have the finances to be buying these supplies. So do you tend to offer the supplies?
Well, we would, yeah. Well, we would. Anything. What we do is when we get any money from our art and crafts fair at Christmas, we would keep half of it for art and crafts supplies for the year. Yeah. So we can buy our own, but we have everything down there. We've had an awful lot of ladies come in and give us material. One lady, her aunt died, and she had a draper shop, and she gave us all the material. So the
donations
the
are great.
were,
so
making aprons to beat the band, and it's really good. A lot of people are very generous, when it comes to that. And now the art classes that we had was from a grant from the Offaly County Council, so that was all paid for. So we were delighted with that.
It's great that you can avail of grants like that as well.
Yeah.
We would make a lot of. We used to make a lot of garden furniture, picnic benches,
the
seats, and so the money made from that goes back in again. Into buying. But over the last, I suppose, 2 or 3 years since COVID, COVID is blamed for everything, and there's different things that's blamed. But to make a long story short, things have got so expensive. Materials have gotten so expensive. Timber, it's
gone through the roof,
price of what it used to be, and it's a pity. But like yourself with people, we'd have builders coming into us who would have bits of timber left over and say, lads, would you, and we'd take it.
Yeah, make use of it.
Because we'd make something out of it. We'd be like, consider ourselves magpies sometimes. We try and give it to the men. Yeah.
Well, you're going into the whole circular economy,
old stuff, and we would redo it up again and give it a new life and see how it, and works. And the lads love that. They'd be really hands-on, Like, we have a workshop there as well. And we have all the equipment that we have actually worked and paid for mostly ourselves. Yes. We do get some money from a grant every year. And unfortunately, and Olive knows this as well, we don't get enough. I'd say we're at the bottom of the ladder when it comes to charities for getting. And I don't want to say that in a bad way, because I know the things is the way it is.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's a struggle.
It's not easy. Paying rent, I know, and then we desperately, I don't want to get away from the crap, but we desperately, both sheds, we need a new venue, and we're struggling to try and get one. Because we can't afford to go out and buy it. We were asking some of the members of Offaly County Council and just taking the opportunity to remind them.
Yes, of course. But nonetheless, you're both looking for new members to come along.
Looking for new members and everything else, because there's always new skills and there's, again, stuff to be done. And the beauty of it, apart from the craft, it's the friendships.
Of course.
Handmade.
You have some ladies that just go down for tea and a chat.
That's
all they want.
That's the most
That's
important.
it.
Yeah. Olive and Tom, it has been a pleasure. Thank you very much for giving me your time on this evening.
Having us.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
And although Tom and Olive are of the Tullamore sheds, there are branches all across the Midlands. So if you are unsure if there is one in operation in your locality or which is the nearest, do check out the Irish Men's Shed Association and Women's Sheds of Ireland websites. And your local libraries are also fantastic for running usually free access introductory workshops and regular classes on a variety of crafts, from crochet to chess and everything in between. Coming up next, a Kilkenny lady on sharing her craft with a Midlands crowd.
Midlands 103.
It is Encore in Midlands 103 with Zoe Ryan here with you until 8 p.m. Now, someone who is getting Craft Month off to a flying start is stained glass artist and founder of Glass and Arrow Studios, Aoibhinn Keogh, who will be leading a taster workshop on the craft at Dunamaze Art Centre this weekend. Aoibhinn, thanks for making the journey down to our studios this evening.
Thanks for having me.
Now, before we get on to talking about the upcoming workshop, tell me a bit about you, how you discovered the craft of stained glass making, because you actually started in ceramic design.
I did, yeah. I studied ceramic design in Wales because I did a portfolio course there in Waterford, and that's what led me on to the ceramics. I just loved it that year. But then afterwards I took a break and kind of just ended up moving towards teaching. But how I ended up in the classes, I'd been teaching for 11 years, design and technology. And because I was teaching the same subject, I was always looking for day courses or something to branch out on. And I saw an advert for a stained glass taster session in Bristol.
Okay.
Creative Glass Guild. And I attended that and just absolutely loved it. It was the Tiffany style method. So a lot of people, when they think of stained glass, you'll think of churches and kind of architectural windows. But the style of glass I learned is the Tiffany method. So you know the floral lamps? Or you'll often see them with dragonflies. That's the method where you wrap the glass in copper and then that's what holds it together. So I did the day course in Bristol, and then after doing one day, I just absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to keep doing it. So I approached my principal in my school and I secured funding to teach the young carers.
Oh,
so
great.
Small groups
Yeah.
in my school. And then lockdown happened.
Right, okay.
And then I had loads of time to play and practice. So I got the hang of the glass and started teaching 2 people from my flat. And that's how I got onto the workshops.
So talk me through the process then. Like if someone comes along to one of your workshops, talk me through the day of how it all happens and how you go about actually making these glassworks.
Yes, so the taster course is a little bit different from the full day. So with the taster course, you come in and you've got your pre-cut, pre-ground glass.
Right, so there is kind of pre-organised elements there.
Yeah, so it's almost like working with mosaic. You get to try the latter stage of, say, imagine if you were doing a full day workshop. But
I get you, yeah.
Wrap it in foil and solder it and then finish it off.
Okay.
So it's not as intensive and it's a shorter taster workshop, but it's just so satisfying. And
Whereas the full day then?
So the full day you get to make a contemporary panel, or I also do private workshops from my studio with a minimum of 2 people, and then you can choose any design you want as long as it is beginner friendly.
Right, okay.
But yeah, the taster workshops, I think they'd be great because it makes it more accessible for people.
And how did this collaboration with Dunamaze to offer these, as you say, taster workshops, how did that come about?
So I was just driving through and I saw the Dunamaze Art Centre on my map.
This is a wild story.
Well, I moved back to Ireland only a year ago because I've been living in England all my adult life.
Yeah.
But I moved back to be closer to my family. So it was only until I discovered the Dunamaze and then I dropped in. It's such a beautiful art centre.
Yeah.
They had such great things going on there. And they were just really supportive of the idea. So it's fantastic because it'll be my first time teaching the taster workshops.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And you've said before that not only do you enjoy doing the craft yourself, but you do enjoy teaching it as well. What aspect is it about teaching that you enjoy so much? Like a lot of creatives, I suppose, they stay in their studio and they're working on the craft for hours. Now, I know a lot of people who have a craft, they do delve into doing the workshops and teaching other people. But what is it about it that you love?
Well, I think I love it so much. I love all of it because I'm a teacher first. But specifically with glass, I feel like people come in quite nervous because it's not like going into a ceramic workshop or,
Where you can play around a lot.
yeah, or even soft materials. So they come in even more perhaps nervous. So just seeing them settle in, and then when it gets to the point where I look around and everyone's in a state of flow.
Yeah.
And I also love at the end, it's my favourite part of teaching when everyone holds up their piece and just they've got a massive smile on their face.
And what are some of the fears that people have? I assume it's that they're afraid of putting too much pressure and breaking the glass.
Breaking it usually, yeah. And then the soldering iron as well. Some people have never soldered before, but I've got temperature controlled irons, which are lovely. Yeah, they're really nice. So it's never as scary as you'd think.
Yeah.
It's only until you're there and experience it.
You're demystifying it for people.
Yes, yeah.
And you mentioned your studio there before. Now, the location of your studio, it sounds like a real hub of creativity. Not only are you surrounded by beautiful sites in the area that it is, but there's other creatives actually working around you as well.
Yeah, we've got, I think there's 8 other creatives in the yard. It's in Castlecomer Craft Yard, just where the Discovery Park is. And we've got crafts ranging from ceramic to wire sculptor to jewellery makers. So it's a really inspiring place to be.
Yeah.
And not only because of other creatives being there, and also nature.
Yeah, no, I can imagine that just the scenes from around you, that would be inspiring, looking out the window even and thinking, what will I create today? Maybe something that's influenced by your mood or maybe what you're looking at. But what would you actually be inspired by when creating the pieces?
Well, if you go down to the Discovery Park at the moment and you walk down by the lake or even crossing over the bridge before you get there, there's dragonflies. So I've started making a few of those sun catchers, but just generally nature-based themes. Yeah, it's easy to make them because you're just surrounded by them.
Yeah.
Leaves. And for the selection for the taster workshop, I've got a feather, a bee, a leaf, flower, butterfly, and...
Did I see was there a moon or something like that?
I make moons, yeah.
Okay. And what would you say would be kind of your bestseller? What are a lot of people coming to you looking for, maybe either in commissions or from what you sell in your shop? What is it that people like getting in the glass?
People love the moons. They're lovely. But I've had a lot of people popping in for repairs, surprisingly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been doing quite a few little repairs. But yeah, I'd say the moons generally are the most popular, and the butterflies.
And I had seen on your social media that there was a fabulous stained glass window that you managed to get overseas. Talk to me about that experience.
Yes, so I got a message from my friend Ryan, and he told me that he was doing a job and someone just offered him these 200-year-old stained glass windows.
Wow.
From a Scottish church. So I'd say loads are thrown out, but I was lucky enough to be offered them.
And transported it from Scotland over.
He brought it over, to Bristol, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I took the glass apart anyway, and I made him a little piece as a little thank you, but I've still got the glass.
Okay, so you didn't actually keep it as the window. You kind of
No.
used it for parts per se.
Yeah, so it was so weak. So all stained glass windows will start to buckle.
Right,
so they start to
okay.
bend.
Yeah.
That's why often in churches you'll see there's bars over it, just to strengthen it or to stop the buckling.
I also assumed that was some sort of like vandalism protection.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that it's actually to, as you say, strengthen the structure.
Yeah, and to keep it in place. But also to stop, they are there to stop breakages and things like that. But if they're not restored, because it's such a unique craft and there's not a lot of people doing it. So if you don't have people, saving these windows, like the ones I got, they were just going to be so easily thrown out. But now they're going to be regifted into...
Yeah, repurposed.
Yeah, repurposed, yeah.
So you've got the workshops coming us. Give us a little bit of details about that workshop then in Dunamaze.
So I'm there on the 8th of August and the 19th of August. I've just added. There's 4 spaces left on the 8th.
Great. So you've had a good response to it.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, it was brilliant. And on that day, there's going to be 2 time slots, and there's going to be a morning and afternoon where you come in, you're going to choose from 5 different designs, and you're going to have a choice of 3 colours in each. And you just pick whichever sun catcher you want, and you spend the 2.5 hours creating that with me.
Yeah.
Step by step. It's a nice, slow, relaxed, fun way of making art.
So these workshops in the Midlands, that's what's next for you. But what do you see maybe coming down the line after that? Do you hope to continue creating pieces in your studio, putting them up, as you say, on the shop and running the workshops? Or is there a bigger project in mind that you have that you're going, I'd love to do such a thing?
Yeah, so I'm focused now on opening up the studio at Castlecomer Discovery Park and just having the shop side open with smaller pieces. But I've been approached a few times about making architectural windows for houses and commissions.
Right.
Because now you can create modern privacy screens.
Interesting, okay.
So you've got fixtures on either side of the window and you can just slide your stained glass panel over it. So a leading workshop is my next move. Yeah, and hopefully move into more functional kind of architectural glass.
Do you find that there is a demand for stained glass products nowadays, or would you say it's a dying craft, or do you find that there's been a bit of a revival of it in recent times?
I think the pieces are just timeless. So you could have any style of house, but those Tiffany lamps are just... they're timeless and just so beautiful.
They're real statement pieces, aren't they?
Yeah, and there's so much AI and computer generated. Like, there's nothing wrong with laser cut or 3D printed products, but these lamps have just been made with so much precision and craft and care. But yeah, I think they're timeless. But in terms of dying craft, there's just not as many people doing it, so I feel like they're even more unique and I think more sought after. Like, you'll always see them if you're watching a film or a series on TV. There's always a beautiful stained glass window in the background or one of those lamps featured.
True, they're very atmospheric.
Yeah, they're just so beautiful as well. Yeah.
And Aoibhinn, if people are interested in finding out more about you, where can they go?
So I've got a website, glassandarrow.com, and you've got all the workshops separated into day workshop, private workshop, and then the taster. So everything's there, and then I'm always at the end of an email if anyone has any inquiries as well.
Fantastic. Aoibhinn, thanks a million for calling out in the studio this evening. It's been a really lovely chat having you out here.
Thanks a million. It's been lovely.
And as Aoibhinn said there, she'll be running her new taster workshop at Dunamaze Arts Centre in Portlaoise this Saturday, August 8th. And she'll be back again next month, September 19th, if you're interested and can't make it along this weekend. For full details, go to glassandarrow.com. Up next, we have new music from a Laois singer.
Midlands 103.
You are listening to Encore on Midlands 103 with Zoe Ryan. Now, my next guest is a musician whose music I've played out on the show before, but not previously had the pleasure of speaking to. Joining us on the back of the release of her latest single, Nobody But You, it is Abbey Leaks' very own June. June, thank you for agreeing to take my call.
Thanks so much for having me, Zoe.
Now, you've been writing original music for years, but it was only last year that you began releasing it. Why? Why is it that you've said to yourself, this is the right time?
Songs have been coming into my head for years, as you've said, but it was actually the social media part that put me off. I didn't want to put myself out there, but I have so many songs at this stage. I just thought I have to start doing something with these and start putting them out there.
And if we consider your style or your sound, it tends to combine elements of alt folk, pop, dance music, even Irish traditional singing. Whatever about folk, pop and dance being fused, that's nothing new, but the Irish traditional singing influences, that's a bit of an outlier. So where did that come from? What's your background? How is it that you come to that?
I suppose I've no real formal training in singing or songwriting. Songs have just started coming into my head. But I do really love the sound of Irish traditional singing. And I heard a singer called Molly Donnery, she's from Camross in Laois, sing two gorgeous songs. And a workshop came up in Abbey Leaks, which I attended a few years back. So I brought her one of my original songs and I asked her, how could I put ornamentation into this that would be a feature of the Irish traditional singing? And she said, you've already done it. You're doing it naturally without realising.
Okay.
So following that, I attended a few more workshops in Irish traditional singing and I just learned more how to control the ornamentation. It can sound really beautiful, but if it's overdone, it's too much. And you mentioned that my music touches on a few different genres, and I suppose I just sing songs I love regardless of genre. So that's maybe why they're so eclectic. So I love a wide variety of artists. I've always loved like David Guetta, especially with female vocalists like Sia.
Yeah.
But I also love, say, Maya Brennan in Clonard and as well as Enya. I've recently kind of discovered new contemporary artists and I'm listening more to the production of songs now in the past year because initially I would just sing without any music, and it's taken time for me to actually appreciate the music behind songs and the production. So, for example, Tate McRae, I felt I was really inspired by her latest album, So Close to What, in terms of the production especially. I think that's Dua Lipa I really love because her melodies are really strong, and I love her up-tempo melodies as well.
It's interesting that you're after mentioning a couple of, as we'd say, maybe modern female artists, because we have a show on the station called Saturday Focus, which is hosted by Sally-Ann Barrett. And Sally-Ann had reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and she said, I do this feature. It's once a month feature. It's called the Back Catalogue. And it's essentially that someone comes on and talks about an artist. It can be a standalone artist or someone who's part of a band, and that I should be introducing my children to. That's the premise for the piece. And she said, I'd love if you, as you know, someone who works in that area, could talk about a female artist, because we've not covered a female artist yet. And it was suddenly then that I was struck going, okay, wow, a female artist that we should be introducing the new generation to. And I suppose I ruled out a lot of maybe the artists that are on the scene at the moment, as you mentioned there, Dua Lipa, Tate McRae, that type of thing. Because I said, well, if you're thinking about, okay, someone that you should introduce your children to, they probably already know those artists. But it really got me thinking about, in years to come, when we're looking maybe 20, 30 years down the line, who from the current list of female artists will we actually stop and say have done revolutionary things in the way that we do with the likes of your Whitney Houston, your Tina Turners, those big names who've rightly gained their space on the Hall of Fame because they've proven a track record that they were geniuses of their time. So it's interesting that you've mentioned a couple of them there, that they actually influence your music, because you would always think that maybe you'd be looking back saying, okay, well, who's inspired me for years? Who was a child that I look up to? But instead you're looking towards artists who are of the current time. And do you think, is that heavily focused on going, okay, well, what do people nowadays want? What type of artists are they enjoying now? So maybe I should be looking at them. Do you think, is that a driving force? Or do you genuinely see something in these modern day female artists?
I definitely genuinely see something. So Tate McRae is a songwriter as well. And I think her melodies are really catchy and really unique. And she combines different melodies to make up a song. You know, there's a pre-chorus and a chorus. And they just get stuck in your head. Like, there's some days I actually just can't play them if I don't want them to get stuck in my head. Yeah. And in terms of what I'm trying to do as a songwriter who's trying to get songs produced, people like Olivia Rodrigo and Tate McRae again are just natural songwriters. Definitely, I think they're so talented, and I think they're underappreciated for what they do.
What part of the process is it that you're enjoying the most at the moment? Is it, say, sitting down and writing the piece, putting it all together? Is it being producing in the studio, or is it getting up there and performing in front of a live crowd? What part is it you enjoy the most about it?
So I like writing the song and putting together different melodies to make a song, writing out the lyrics. A lot of it is done by the time I sit down to do it because they've come into my head and I'm only just piecing them together. But then picking out the music is a lot of fun as well, and deciding which track to go with. But even I love singing the song in the studio, and I love kind of singing harmonies because there's a bit of freedom there. You can do an ad-lib harmony, and then sometimes I mightn't even remember singing something, and that's the part that gets chosen for the final song. So I love all aspects of making and producing the song.
And speaking of your own music then, it was your last single, Maybe, that actually acted as an introduction for me to your music. And today it stands as the most listened to track on Spotify of yours by a considerable margin. Like, we're talking about, it has twice the amount of listeners to your next popular song. So would you say that things have changed for you since the release of that song? Has it been nearly like a turning point for you?
That's a good question. And in terms of why Maybe got more streams than the other songs, I suppose I'm learning more about the social media side of things. And now I'm learning that if you sing the chorus on screen, which I hate doing, yes, I'm absolutely mortified, but that seems to be what people connect with. But otherwise, the song itself, I'm definitely trying to go more up-tempo with my songs because I love listening to up-tempo songs. I've had a few songs where a song has come into my head and I've actually flipped it and wrote the opposite lyrics. And that's turned out better than the original because it's more uplifting.
And that brings me on to then the new single. So Nobody But You, the teaser clip that has been going around on social medias for the past few weeks ahead of it being released. It features this real 80s sound to it, which, as somebody who is a massive 80s music fan, that really caught my eye, and I went, I can't wait for her to release this song because I want to see what she does. It nearly was just like a bar, and I went, ooh, I like the sound of that. I want to see how that's incorporated into the wider song. And when I was listening to it, it actually features in the latter part of the track.
So that was the first draft instrumental. So my producer ran that by me first, and I just said no. just not what I want for this song. I like it, but it doesn't grab you quickly enough.
Okay, that's funny because when I heard it and then like that, I was expecting it to be really dominant in the music. And then when I listened to the track when it was released, I was nearly going, oh, where's the sound? And then when it featured near the end, I was like, I would have loved a bit more of that. So that was a stylistic decision for you that you said, we'll keep it, but it's not going to be the main thing.
Yeah, no. And then he sent me another instrumental and immediately I was like, yes.
I imagine that's one of the most difficult things as an artist, especially as you said, as a songwriter. So you've written the piece and you can probably already hear it in your mind. And then the difficulty then is to recreate that sound, to actually bring it to life. So how is it that you go about that then? I know that you are an instrumentalist yourself, so you probably try and feed out a few bars to try and get that sound. But ultimately, how do you actually go about it? For anyone who's unfamiliar with the process of producing music, how do you go about having that sound in your head and getting someone to actually make it then?
I actually don't find it difficult. So I can clearly hear the song in my head and I sing it into phone or whatever so I don't forget it. And then I write out the whole song and, send over a version to my producer and I give him an idea of what I'd like it to sound like. And he comes back with a sample instrumental and I either say yes or no. But it's all very instinctual. It's either yes or no and I know straight away.
Yeah.
So my initial aim was to produce an album. But I suppose I've evolved since then. At that time, I was used to only singing my songs without music. So I had to adapt to singing to music. And then the whole giving my producer ideas of what I'd like as an instrumental behind the music was totally new to me. I suppose more songs kept coming into my head and better ones since I first sent over my album songs to my producer. So I have actually other songs produced and some are ballads, but just because I'm trying to get my up-tempo songs produced, I just have a handful of ones, maybe about 5 up-tempo ones that I'd like to produce and then make sure they're on the album. And then I'll probably have too many songs for the album then, so I'll have to refine it. So I'm evolving, but at the same time, if I was to release an album a year ago, nobody would listen to it. So I suppose it's only with maybe I had a few more listeners and I'm starting to build a bit of a listenership. So it makes sense to try and maximise that before putting an album out.
It is the kind of way of nowadays, isn't it, that you have to have that kind of grounding, that, as you say, that basis of listeners before you can really release arguably your best stuff, because you want to make sure that someone is listening and it doesn't fall on deaf ears or it doesn't go unnoticed. So, as I said, I suppose it's just part of the modern day of producing music. You need to have that listenership already made for yourself and then hope that when the great stuff comes down the tracks, that there is someone there to catch it.
Yeah, well, it's a balancing act, because I suppose you want to put out your best stuff initially so people will want to listen for more.
Yeah.
But Nobody But You wasn't invented a year ago, so there's always new songs coming into my head. I just can't keep up with the production side of them.
So do we have a potential release date for this album, or is it a case of you're just working away at the music, you're releasing the tracks as you feel they're right to release them, and you're thinking the album will come, the album will be down the line, or are you kind of thinking of dates in your head?
The middle option. So I'm just going with the flow. You know what? All these songs are just coming into my head, and Nobody But You popped into my head a few months ago. That was never on the cards, so let's just see what happens.
Well, we better not leave you waiting any longer. This is June's latest single, Nobody But You. That was Laois-based singer June with Nobody But You. What a voice. And you can check out her full catalogue on Spotify and YouTube. Still to come, a Westmeath dance teacher will be giving us an insight into what it takes to bring a dance troupe to competition.
Midlands 103.
It is Zoe Ryan with Encore on Midlands 103. Now, have you ever watched the likes of Dance Moms or Dallas Cheerleaders and been in absolute awe of the talent and spectacle unfolding before you? Well, I'm delighted to be joined now by Amy McManus of Elevate Dance Academy in Mullingar to talk about their recent achievements and what goes into it. Amy, thanks a million for joining me this evening.
Thank you very much for having me.
Amy, tell us a little bit about, you recently were up for the Dance World Cup in the Convention Centre. Talk to me about that.
Okay, well, it's a competition that's been running the last 24 years and it is probably one of the most prestigious in the world of dance. It was an 11-day event in the Convention Centre in Dublin.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an amazing, it was 4 stages from 8:30 in the morning until sometimes 11 o'clock at night. It's the first time it's actually been in Ireland. It was meant to be in Italy, but they had a problem with a venue and somehow it landed in Ireland. So, so it was a bit of a race to get prepared for it because every country has to qualify. So there's a genre and then there's there's an age category, and then they will take their top 5 from each country in the genre and the age category. And that's kind of how it works.
And the preparations that goes into pulling off something like this was something that I wanted to talk to you about, because I recently was going over to Manchester and my mother was travelling with me, and we were like that, sitting at the airport waiting for our flight to come in, and suddenly this big dance crew came and they were sitting around us, and it was a combination of different ages. So you had the most tiny little people coming along, and then you had, you know, more into your teen ages as well. And my mother was just absolutely captivated by the clothes that they were wearing, the way they had the hair and the makeup done, the tan, everything that goes into it. So you mentioned there about how this was meant to be originally over in Italy, got moved to Ireland. I'm assuming so much goes into travelling abroad with a group like that. So was it a welcomed change when you heard it was actually going to be in Ireland? Or, you know, you're based in the Midlands, so you had to travel up to Dublin anyways. What goes into bringing a dance crew of any size up to a competition like that?
It is a lot of work. Like, I would be used to traveling with my competitive dancers, but on a smaller scale. We might only go for 1 or 2 nights. We've been to London, we've been to Liverpool, but we actually were one of the lucky groups that didn't have to travel too far. It was an hour up the road. It was still it was hard work, but to watch the Canadian team, the Mexican team, all of those people who travelled all across the world for this event, you know, there's a certain attire and etiquette. So we all have to have the perfect hair. There can't be a thread out of place in your costume. Because when you're under the stage lights, there's like, it's not forgiving. Like, you can see absolutely everything. And when you're at such a high standard at a competition, they will look for the smallest detail to, you know, for their marks. It's not like we're in a regular competition or a national level where they would have 25% goes to musicality, 25% goes to performance and so on. They just won't write, they will watch, and they will just kind of give their marks from the vibe, I suppose, and the technique and the standard. So.
And do you get any sort of feedback on that, so that, like that exactly, if they're marking you down on certain aspects, you can go away and say, okay, they've marked us down on that this time round. We know where we can focus on for the next time, or where we need to up our game. Do you get the luxury of feedback like that so you can work and build upon it?
We don't at the finals, so at the actual World Cup finals itself, no. But like at qualifiers, you would have some sort of feedback where you can, yes, absolutely. So you can work on it. But finals, it is literally they give you your mark and that's it. The percentage is so tight. One of our teams, our senior team, came 4th in jazz in the world from age 18 to 25. And it was so close. They were like 1% off winning bronze medals. Yeah. So it is very tight, very tight. Like, some kids on our team missed out a medal on 0.5%. Like, it's extremely tight. Yeah. But then a few kids won some medals. So it was very special time for them.
And you mentioned there about the senior team, who were obviously did really well in the jazz category. But what other teams did you have travelling up and competing in the event?
So we actually had 15 on our team, 2 jazz teams, a junior and a senior. We also had 2 contemporary teams, 2 lyrical teams, and 1 commercial dance, which is like what you'd see the concerts and all that, backing dancers, that kind of commercial. It's like the new hip hop, if you get me.
Yes.
So they all qualified. We qualified on those teams to perform for Team Ireland. And then we'd quite a few soloists. So you're trying to earn points for your country, but you also have an opportunity to achieve and succeed for yourself as a soloist. So it's a really nice, you know, it's a bit of everything for those kids who are working very hard in the studio several hours a week, you know.
And it's fantastic to see that, as you said, you have a mix of age groups there of people who are getting involved in dance and who are competing at such a high level. On tonight's show, we've been focusing on, you know, encouraging people, with it being August, which is craft month, to take up a craft. And I suppose thus far tonight, we've probably been focusing on maybe an older generation, to say it's never too late to take up a craft. But for the likes of anyone who's listening, who's thinking, yeah, you know, my child or my grandchild or whoever might really benefit from being involved in a dance class like this, what would you think is the benefit of that, of having something like that from a young age to be involved in and to have an opportunity to excel in?
Well, all of our team dancers or competitive dancers started off in recreational classes, which we offer Like we would focus on recreational classes for children who just like to socialise or enjoy the hobby or enjoy movement, creative movement. And then, you know, normally they kind of figure it out themselves. They might sign up to a second class with our academy. Or then they might say, oh, well, I would like to try an exam class because I don't know if I want to compete, but I would like a little bit more of a focus. So that's the way it kind of happens. It's a natural thing in our studio where they end up doing 2 or 3 classes or 4 classes. And then all of a sudden they're on a competitive team because they're training that often. But there's so many benefits to dance. It's, you know, obviously for physical and mental health and just even the social aspect is so nice. And music, like being around music constantly is a really nice, you know, calming experience. So I just think it's beneficial in so many ways. Like we have from 3.5-year-olds coming into our studio right up until like we have 18 and 19-year-olds who don't want to leave. It's so funny. And they have to move on to the adult world, and we don't teach adult classes anymore. We used to, but we're just so busy with the youth now. That's what we've chosen to kind of focus on. But they just adore it because there's just so many benefits to it, and there's no pressure in our studio. You kind of find your way.
And as you said, even scientifically, you know, about those happy endorphins that we release when we're dancing and when we're singing and listening to music, all of that plays into, as you say, the benefit of it. But I found it interesting when you said about, you know, the 3.5-year-old, because those were the age group that my mother was particularly fascinated by. She was looking at these little ones and the hair and everything. She said, God, I wonder where they're competing. She said, I'd love to go along and see it when we were over in Manchester. But I'd say you have a lot of people like that who they love to go along and actually support the younger groups in doing this, like, and be in the audience and watch it, because it is a spectacle to see and to witness, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the performances were absolutely amazing. It was like walking into a Broadway or West End show, because I've experienced both, and I've experienced like Bord Gosh or you know, our National Theatre. Like it's just, the standard was so high that you literally felt like you were at a professional show. And these were, you know, again, it went all the way from age 5 up to age 25 years of age. So as the age range went up through the week, because they started with the youngest from the first day right up to the oldest on day 11, it was just insane. And it was so amazing to watch the standard. So yeah, a lot of the parents who would be well used to going to competitions and all that just sat back and enjoyed the show. Like, and it was just, they were so proud of their children for making it to this, like, I suppose, international stage. So it was just a really nice moment. And yeah, it was very, very nice to watch, very professional looking.
Brilliant. Amy, thanks a million, and well done again. As you said, it's a massive achievement to even be asked and to qualify for the competition, never mind to actually qualify. So well done, and long may it last and continue.
Thank you so much, Zoe, and thanks a million for chatting to me this evening. Thank you.
And you can find Elevate Academy of Dance on Instagram, Facebook and on their website. Now on to our last order of business for tonight. It is with a heavy heart that I announce that this will be the final curtain call for Encore. From next week, there will be a new show occupying the 7 to 8 p.m. slot on Thursday evenings called Shine a Light, which will be fronted by Sinead Hubble and Daniel Boyne. And it aims to give a platform to those who would not ordinarily have their voice featured on air. So I wish them the best of luck with that. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has made hosting this show over the past year and a half such an incredible experience. To all the wonderful guests who came on to share their stories, some of which were extremely wacky and memorable. Definitely going to be adding them as highlights into my show reel. To Joe Cooney for the post-show banter, to Nellie for the kind words of encouragement and off-air chats, but also to Roy Jennings and my predecessor Claire O'Brien for trusting me to see out such a loved and valued show, and to you for tuning and texting in. It truly has been an honour and a pleasure. But it's not the last you'll hear of me. I'll be covering Saturday Focus for Sally-Ann Barrett for the rest of the month. So you can catch me on Saturday mornings between 10 and 11 a.m. from this weekend. And you can, of course, listen back to any episodes of Encore on the podcast section on the Midlands 103 website or on your preferred podcast platform. As I said, it has really been just such a fantastic experience hosting the show. I think I have spoken to every artist possibly imaginable over the past year. I actually did my best to try and get every single social art and craft that we could on. And I think we've probably achieved that. And I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have. So as my finger hovers over the button to play out the Encore jingle for the last time, I say to you a final good night.